Hi,
Hello.
Emma. Hello again, and hi, my lovely Eric.
Hi, Mama. Love you still.
Oh, really? Are you sure? All right, now we're going to talk a little bit about the government. Um,
Oh,
yeah.
he's got.
Well,
Oh, where's my big book?
okay. So, well, let me start out with I saw this show that Lucas, my son, had me watch called Unacknowledged. Yeah, that was the name of it. And it's all about these things going on in the government, like the Montauk files, Montauk. Um, it's this place where they have a lot of evidence about aliens, and they're just not, for some reason, disclosing some of this. I can't remember too much about the movie because it's my mind, my old mind. But they're not disclosing about aliens to us. Why are they keeping their cards close to their chest?
He says because the alien. It's not so much. They don't want to just hide the fact that we're having contact with them, that we are exchanging. It's more about not wanting to reveal that they're exchanging knowledge and means for our world to basically have free energy, to have no more illnesses, to have equality for everyone, no more poverty, no more people starving in the world. They gave us all the tools.
Yeah,
They
well,
gave it
why?
to
Why
us.
would they hold that from us? For example, there's this plexiglass thing that is in the Montauk area, or whatever building, I can't remember, that is capable of creating free energy. Seriously, I mean, and we don't have that. I don't get. I mean, this was all leaked by people who have had clearance in this division.
Well,
Well,
yeah,
first of all,
they
is that true? Is this plexiglass
yeah,
thing a creator of free energy?
it is. It is true. They have. I'm telling you, they have. We already have in hands all the tools we need to fix the problems in this world.
Mm.
However, what is the problem? Well, because the people who are running our world don't make a dime off of all these tools. So, why would they
Ugh,
hand out free medicine? Why would they hand out no more illness when that's where their income is? That's how they keep power. That's
like
their
big pharma.
control.
Big pharma
Right.
lines the pockets of our politician, and so they don't want there to be a cure for cancer and things like that.
Yeah, these groups of people, and there's a lot less than people think. It's not a big group. It's just a very powerful group that even politicians don't even know about sometimes. Some of them do, some of them don't. But these groups controlling the whole world. They are controlling our food sources. They are controlling our medicine. They are controlling our transportation means. They are controlling media. So they're in control of everything you can think of. They're in control of, and they're making money off it in order to keep the power, in order to stay in control. So why would they hand over all these tools that would mean the loss of control?
Well, because
That
it's
would
the
mean
nice
that
thing
they
to
would not.
do. It's the right
Oh
thing
yeah,
to do.
well, the nice thing to do hasn't really been that successful of a story in our history.
Yeah, it doesn't make people rich, I guess.
Human
Well,
being.
what is
So,
there?
that's why it's being
Okay, what else is there in
what?
this? What else is there in this Montauk compound? Beside the
Well,
plexiglass thing, are there like alien bodies? I mean, what is there?
a lot of it is it
Wait a minute, you're breaking up a little
is
bit.
what they're showing me.
Okay, hang on, you're getting
Okay, can you hear
blurry.
me?
Yeah, but it's all of a sudden kind of
Uh,
blurry.
hmm.
Can you?
They're
Okay.
already trying. They're cutting our signal so we wouldn't explode.
Oh no! Are they for real?
Eric, no, they caught up on us.
Oh no! Is that really for real?
He's saying, let's just say that internet, everything that happens on the internet is being checked now.
Okay, we'll try to go
So
on.
yeah,
I might have to restart and then splice part one and part two together. Okay, so what kind of
Okay.
things are in the Montauk compound?
Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's saying besides having all the tools to fix our planet, and that also means fixing our nature, fixing the global warming problem, everything like that. There are also documents, very ancient documents, where truth about why we're here, where there's means, and even kind of like a manual on how we're supposed to live life on this earth, are being hidden. So there's documents in there that prove that about Atlantis. They have several items from
Wow.
Atlantis where books where it says who we were, where we came from, the tools to use. So usage of he's saying usage of crystals,
Mm,
how they can supply the world with unlimited energy,
mm.
free, completely free. So all of that, there's a lot of history that's being hidden and taken away of over the years of people who do know the answers to why we're here, who do know the answers to all our problems, and uh, how everything is interlinked, meaning that how we as a human race lost power to these um, big people, to these groups of people. So there is documentation of that. Whenever a person invents something that is beneficial to us, it will be seized and it will be stored, it will be put away. Those people will either be paid off with a big amount of money to keep their mouth shut,
Or
or they will
killed.
disappear. Yeah,
Oh.
or they will disappear very
Mm.
mysteriously. Um, or they commit suicide,
Yeah.
which is a very popular one as well.
Well,
So
some people say that Marilyn Monroe knew too much, and the CIA killed her. Or same thing with JFK, that he knew too much, and there was a risk that he would divulge all this. Is that true?
when it came to JFK and Maryland, so Maryland had um, discovered a lot of secrets that the White House was dealing with. Um, One of them was the aliens, the alien issue. Another one was how the government was negotiating. He's talking Cuba.
Okay. Okay.
They were negotiating with Cuba. They
Uh-huh.
were okay. So they were. He's going. Should we just say it? Should we just say it? Yeah, just say it. I don't care. I don't give a shit. How the government has been dealing drugs. Oh,
Oh,
how fun! They've been dealing drugs, so they're part of the drug deal cartel, actually.
to make
Um,
money, or to make us sick, or
for
both?
money, but also to gain access into certain countries like Cuba and Venezuela and things like that. So they actually sometimes, he says that they sponsor certain gorilla. Is that a gorilla? That's like an animal to me, but gorilla, I don't
Yeah,
know.
like guerrilla
Bad.
warfare. Right.
There you go. Like bad people over there, they sponsor them to try and assassinate certain big shots or certain
Mm.
to eliminate certain people. He's saying, he's going, man, if we really had to go into this, what Marilyn knew, she had written it all down into a diary. Everything she found out, she had written it down. So she became a threat.
Yeah.
And so did JFK wanted to reveal the alien incident.
Hmm.
He wanted full exposure of it.
Hmm.
The CIA joined together with the mafia.
Mm.
Okay, let me give you a little bit of a history. He says the mafia, together with the help of the mafia, is what put JFK into the White House. Okay, it was
Oh.
mafia's help that they got into the White House. Now, once he was into the White House, he started turning against the mafia, and he was going to expose and attack everyone. So the mafia didn't appreciate that. Hey, we put you in that White House, and now you're going to try and come back at us?
Mm.
No. So what the CIA did, they worked together with the mafia in order to eliminate JFK. Now, when it came to Marilyn, they did have plans to eliminate her. However, she already had done the deed herself without her knowledge. This was just like an accidental
Oh, an
overdose.
accident. Okay. All right. Now you have this global elite, the parasitic elite class, basically, that are involved in this. And there's also something called the military industrial complex, like the military and corporations are involved in this. And you also have something called the New World Order. Are those the same? I mean, these things were brought up in this documentary.
They
So,
work together. Let's just say there's different, you have kind of different groups. You have the business group, you have the militarized group, which is mostly FBI and CIA who
okay.
are working. They're even doing things that the president does not
Oh,
know. The
Jesus.
president of the United States do not know all the details that are going on. They do know that there are fundings going towards secret operations, and when the president will request it, they will say, "Sorry, you can't." Or they keep them in the dark,
Okay.
basically. So you have kind of like business, you have the military slash police kind of thing, and then you also have the medicinal part of it.
The big
Um,
pharma?
all the big pharmacies, yeah,
Okay.
that they basically create diseases in order for them to sell you their. Should we go into that? He's going.
Well, was AIDS created by was the AIDS epidemic created by these people?
No, the AIDS epidemic was created by a virus that was transmitted
Yeah.
through primates. However, cancer is being created by these entities, these people in charge, and other diseases. Now,
How did they create that? How are they chemtrails? I don't know.
they
Putting
have
something in the
different
water?
genes. No, in our water, which keeps us docile and really kind of, lost, separated, don't think for yourself kind of situation, he says.
How convenient for them.
But what they do is vaccines are a very great way to transmit a lot of illnesses, a lot of metals that cause cancer.
Mm.
Okay. He says what he's just showing me how it has to do with trying to um, reduce the population in number.
Okay.
The more he says the larger the population gets, the more they have people that can go against them.
Oh,
They
yeah.
like to keep the population under a certain amount of numbers so they can keep the control over them. So vaccines is one issue. And another issue is, and I don't want to scare people with this, but this is really happening. They are using mosquitoes to transfer certain illnesses. They basically genetically modified the mosquito. They basically introduce an illness into the mosquito, and mosquitoes are really easy, to create. They're really
Yeah.
easy to make.
So is that
And
what
what they do is
did they create
basically,
swine flu or what's the other one?
yes,
Yeah, things like that.
and foot and mouth,
And what?
which was something foot and mouth.
Oh, foot and
It
mouth
has to do with
disease.
cats.
Okay.
With cats, he
Okay.
says. But yeah, so these mosquitoes are they take them up in the air in airplanes, and they basically release them over certain areas. Things like that. He's also talking about our food being modified in some
Okay.
way. He's making me feel like they changed the cellular structure of certain foods, and it doesn't sit well with our bodies. Our bodies like fight it without
Okay.
us knowing it, and that's why we feel tired all the time.
What kind of
That's why
food?
we feel exhausted.
What kind of food?
Just it's like basics is what he's showing me. Grain, like
Okay.
wheat. Um, yeah, it's mostly like grain. He's also talking about like vegetables and things like that, fruit,
Okay.
vegetables.
Okay.
They like modify something. I'm not really sure how or what that means, but he
Well,
keeps saying modify, modify, modify.
do they
Um,
do they
so I
create?
guess they mess with food, they mess with vaccines,
Okay.
they mess with spraying things.
Spraying
Okay,
what?
talking about how they spray our food with
Okay.
chemicals, and those chemicals, you can try and wash it off, but it's never fully away.
Okay.
And those chemicals that we're digesting is basically poisoning our bodies from the inside out, creating a whole bunch of illness. Now, he's talking about saying that when it comes to chemtrails, chemtrails is being used by different kind of organizations, um, including NASA,
Oh,
and including the American government as well. So it's not just governments, but also private organizations who are using chemtrails. Now, the original idea was to prevent. It was to help against globalization, or to help against, the world heating,
the world what?
and
It
to
help against
heat,
the world what?
how the world is heating up. You know how the world is like heating up?
Oh, right, right.
What's that called?
Global warming.
Global warming. There you go.
Okay, let's
Um,
let's stop and
okay.
get out of Skype and then restart because you're so blurry. Sorry, but you're
Oh,
blurry. I'll get,
that's okay.
but I'm gonna totally quit out of Skype and then restart it for part
Okay.
2. Bye.
Sorry, I got some water.
Oh, good. Well, you're allowed to
Talking.
be thirsty and quench your thirst.
When he starts talking, I really get like a dry throat.
Oh, I bet. All right, so they're making us sick on purpose. Now, there's some in this documentary, Unacknowledged. They also say that they often create chaos on purpose. Like some people think that the government created 9/11. Hey, you.
Um, yes.
Oh gosh, he just wandered in. Here, mommy, take him. He loves to be with Mimi. Okay. Who's that?
Okay.
Who's
Very
that? That's Emma. Go ahead.
So he's going, yes. How can I explain it? He's saying, well, they've been doing this for a while now. Basically, they recreate terrorist attacks, or they create them. They don't recreate them. They create what look like to us terrorist attacks in order to justify a means. They want to attack something.
They want to feed the military-industrial complex with money.
Right. I mean, they're just staging these attacks because they really want the support of the of the people to say, yeah, go bomb them fuckers. Go get them. That's really what it is. Now, they've done this before, and there has been there is proof of this. There is proof of this. There are files that have been released a long time ago where they wanted to attack Cuba. They wanted to invade Cuba, but in order to do that, they needed a reason why. So their idea was to, and they have it written down. It is in paper. People can find it on the internet. Look it up, he says. Look it up. They actually say in detail how they're just going to take 2 military people from the United States who are going to start pretending to be Cubans, and they're just going to start shooting people in the streets in Washington. That was the plan. And then blame it on Cuba. Or another one that they wanted to do is they wanted to have an airplane attack one of the cities in America, so they could say, hey, Cuba did it, let's go get them. However, they never went through with the plan. It was denied by President Kennedy. He rejected the proposal. But that's just an example that is that is written down that people can find on the internet.
Well, was
That
9/11 was 9/11 created by our government, or was it just what everybody thinks it is, and that's just a regular Osama bin Laden type?
No, it was the government was aware of the attacks were going to happen, and what they did is they made it worse. So what they did was they took the opportunity of that attack and they basically made it worse. So did two airplanes fly in there? That was that a terrorist attack? Yes. However, the building collapsing, that was the government pushing a button with basically
Charges.
they had explosives already installed into the buildings when it did happen, because they knew exactly when it was going to happen, they knew what date it was going to happen, they had all the intel, but they needed a reason, an excuse to go over there, and find these so-called bombs. They needed an excuse to go into war, and so after the airplanes flew and the buildings were not supposed to collapse. The buildings were strong enough to survive. They knew that. So in order to create more chaos, more death, they basically
I believe that, because it just doesn't seem right that the whole both buildings should just totally collapse because of the airplanes.
Mom, if you look at the pictures, the buildings collapse like they when they destroy a building and they don't want to do much damage with the buildings around them, they go like this in stages, boom, boom, boom. That's what they're doing. If it was because of the airplane hitting, the building would tilt. But an airplane isn't.
There was a collapse like a
it's a metal construction, so it's not possible.
Yeah, it was like a planned demolition. All right, so is it only the United States that are doing this whole?
No,
it's other countries too.
There are other countries too. There are also countries, and let's go maybe let people know about that. There are countries who are going and condemning certain wars in Syria, and no, that's so bad, you shouldn't do that. But under the down low, they're actually feeding them money to get more weapons. So if we're talking about presidents who are firing chemical weapons and destroying babies and children and women in the streets, and they're going, oh, you should be ashamed, and we condemn it. What people don't know is they've already provided them with money to buy those weapons.
Does Trump know about this? Is Trump a part of this?
Trump, I'm pretty sure he knows about what's going on.
Does he condone it?
One of the countries is France, who is supporting these war tactics, who are very cruel. Let's just say that a lot of different countries are having deals, contracts under the radar, and they actually support each other in having warfare to destroy this, to gain that, to create chaos. So there's a lot of underlying deals being made that people are not aware of.
Well, does Trump condone it? See, he's so rich, it doesn't seem like he'd do that kind of stuff to get money. But does he condone all that's going on?
It's not money, it's about power.
Okay, well, does he condone it?
It's about, you did this for me, I did this for you, things like that. So Trump is not aware of everything that's going on, but they do get certain intel on certain things.
Okay. What about Hillary? Does she know about it? And is she all for it?
She knows.
Huh?
She's very convinced about that. She knows.
Oh, okay. And she supports it.
She's part of that high society kind of group thing.
Oh, let's talk about that. The New World Order. Who are some of the members of that? And what is it actually?
It's just a group of elites that kind of have worked their way up there over the centuries. It's been passed on from family to family to family.
Like the Roosevelts and things like that, right?
Right. They're really, the most rich people, and sometimes people that you don't even. He's talking about one of them is this very, very old lady, and she's like the only one left in the family, but she controls about 30% of the world. So a lot of them are.
Who is it? Are you? Don't say because it might be dangerous for us.
Yeah, he's saying I can't give you all the details because,
No,
you know, what we're doing right now is already going to get their attention. So let's not
no,
push it.
no.
I don't
Are
want to
they,
bring anybody in danger.
who are is Obama a member? Is Trump a member? Hillary a member? Um, Bill Clinton a member? I mean, who are members? Bush, the Bush family.
Um, Not, he's saying not all presidents are a member of it. However, they do know about it.
Okay,
Um, they just don't always have the power to stop it or to even do anything about it.
okay. Who are members? I mean, certain rich families, but who else? What individuals are? Is Obama a member of the New World Order?
He's saying no.
What about Trump?
Um, no.
The Clintons?
Yes.
Um, Anybody else you want to share?
Um, really? He's talking about Rockefellers or
Okay, the
something.
Rockefellers, yeah. I've heard that.
He's talking about the Queen of England.
Oh, okay. Well, are they all bad, or do they want to do good things for the world?
They just want to be in control. They just want to stay in that power. They just want. They're the ones who decide who becomes president. They're the ones. People think that they really vote. They don't. Everything is rigged. Everything it will turn into a place where they want it to go. So
Well, are they
people are being.
nefarious? I mean, some people want to control things to make the world a better place, but some just want all the power and money for themselves. Where do
Yeah,
they
it's
stand?
about they believe that they know what's best for the world. So, in order to keep that under control, they need to keep every aspect of a human life under control. So, they some of them do believe that they need a certain order and they need a certain structure built into humans that otherwise everything would go to chaos if everybody would just do whatever the hell they want. They do believe that people need to be run like a herd, and there needs to be a leader to guide them and to tell people what's good for them, what's not good for them. But in order to keep, that's the whole screwed up thing about it, Mom. Some people really believe that people need guidance.
Yeah.
However, then you got the opposite part, who does believe that, but in order to gain that control, they also need to attack people at the same time to keep themselves into that position. So it's just, they say one thing in order to make them feel better, but if you look at it from an objective point of view, they're really just doing more damage than they are helping people.
Are they doing it in their own minds? Are they doing it to help the world, or are they doing it to enrich themselves with money and power, or both?
Both. Yeah, both.
So would you say they are a nefarious group, or not?
Let's just say that they believe that without them, the world would be in mayhem.
Okay. What about the military-industrial complex? Besides, obviously, the military, FBI, CIA, the industrial part of that. Who are the principal members of that? Are there like banks, big pharma, of course, but what other like companies? What types of companies? You don't have to name specifics if you don't want to, but if you want to, that's fine too.
He's saying well, he's talking about how you have banks that we know we go to, but then you also have a bigger bank that's controlling all the banks.
Okay.
I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but
bank or something. Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
And they control stock exchange and everything like that.
Okay.
So they're in full control of that. It's the main bank that controls everything. So you have a main bank in America, and you have a main bank that controls all the European. Let's just say that, if you look at the news, It's that main bank, that European bank. It's called the European National Bank
Hmm.
that decides what all the other banks in every European country needs to do. They say you need to save money, then those banks need to reduce their interest rates because they
Okay.
need to save money.
Okay.
So that one bank is controlling all the banks. So um, the bank is one of the biggest ones that when it comes to business. But then you also have the Walmart family.
Okay.
He's talking about computers.
Yeah, the tech companies maybe, or Amazon. I don't know.
He's
Bill
talking about
Gates.
Microsoft.
Oh, is Bill Gates part of the New World Order group?
Yes.
I figured. Okay.
Uh, he's also talking about Facebook.
Okay. What about
How
Apple? Oh, sorry.
he's not he's aware of what's going on, and they do use Facebook to gain info and intel on people.
Oh, yeah,
Uh,
of course.
that is all being in secret, like passed on. So he is aware. He's not part of. I don't know his name, but he's not part of
Mark
the big group.
Zuckerberg. Yeah, he's not
However,
part of the New World Order. Okay.
yeah, he is in contact with people who are in that New
Okay.
World Order. Um, and so he's showing me banks. He's showing me computers.
Like Apple Computer, or just Microsoft?
No, he's just saying Microsoft.
Okay. Amazon. That's a big one. Okay. Good, 'cause I love my Amazon Prime. Yeah.
But he's talking about like public transportation.
Really? Okay.
He's making me feel like there is kind of, yeah, he's saying people think that public transportation is being run by either the government or by, that it's according to state, but he's saying that there is a higher group who is controlling all of the public transportation in all of America. um,
Hmm.
and it's a very secretive group is what he's saying, but they he's saying, if you look at it, if you look at all the different groups, if they would all at the same time decide, if they would decide that enough is enough, they can completely flatten everything on this planet. Transportation, they can flatten food, they can, flatten all communication can end. They can decide that, what we would call a fire sale. Basically everything shut down. It is possible. There is a risk of that happening at one point in the future as well, which is something that I wanted to make people aware of. Um, okay, he's saying it's gonna get worse before it gets better, and there's gonna be a time, he says, where people are really gonna have to stand up together and fight.
Yeah.
Uh, because
Torches and pitchfork time.
they do have this plan. He's saying they have a plan in motion that if people really get enlightened, if people really start to think for themselves and really start to reject, reject government, reject all of that, they do have a plan in place to basically shut down the whole world, and to making it like overrunning the governments. Even they would take over the government's military.
Wow. Oh my God. Okay.
And whoever doesn't apply or thinks the way that they want you to think will be taken away and locked up. They even have, it almost looks like camps that they have already made
Are we
that
talking
are
about FEMA?
ready to be used.
Are we talking about FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management
Yeah.
something?
He's saying yes, they have locations that have been prepped for holding several thousands of people, and all different locations. They are hidden away, but they are present. They are ready for that.
I hear there are also a lot of there's just hundreds of thousands of caskets, and also railroad cars just ready for, that FEMA has ready for something. Maybe it's this.
Maybe to transport. Yeah, He's comparing it to Hitler and concentration camps. That's what
Okay.
he's comparing it to.
How can
So
we
I hope that
deconstruct?
doesn't happen.
How can we deconstruct all this? The global elite, the New World Order, the military-industrial complex. What can we do?
He says we need to gain insight in
Uh-huh.
these people. We need to do more research. We need to know what they're planning so we can be prepared for it as well. But most of all, we really need to, he says, we need to evolve ourselves so their plan will fade out of a possible future. So what do I mean by that? He says is when we start to become enlightened, when we really focus on self-love, on compassion, when we focus on getting into that fourth dimension and connecting to source, connecting to ourselves, connecting to our higher selves, then more and more people will live in a state of peace, will live in a
Okay.
state um, of balance within the universe, and we'll just focus on the positivity of life, on the being, what the positive aspects are of living on earth as a human being. And what we do then is we basically stop feeding, because what we're doing now is a lot of people are distraught, they're scared, they're anxious, they're afraid of the
Sure.
future. So we're feeding that possibility, we're creating it, we're feeding it, we're feeding it, we're feeding it, and so we are creating it into our existence.
Okay.
If we can, how do we stop creating it? Because, think about it, every day we decide a new direction, every day is a new day to create a possible outcome, to create a new
Yeah.
outcome.
Sure.
Every minute of every day we have to take a decision. Do we go left? Do we go right? And when we go left, then the right future dissolves. It's no longer relevant. So in order for us to dissolve that possible outcome of those concentration camps, we really need to focus on not having them. We really need to focus on exposing certain people more and more, using the media that we do have, although it is very much being controlled
Yeah.
by
Yeah.
the
Yeah. What
media.
about the media? Yeah. Is the media part of this military-industrial complex? It seems like they are controlling how people vote, for example. I mean, they're so freaking biased now and
He's saying, let's
polarizing.
think of it this way. They are infiltrated in government, they are infiltrated in law enforcement, they are infiltrated in media, they are infiltrated in universities where
Okay.
the research is being done and being basically blocked in some way or form. And they're also infiltrated in scientists. So they have people, scientists and journalists, who will stop information from coming out, or scientists who will say no, that's not possible, people who are really well known, who have years and years of a scientific background, who will disprove it. So they are infiltrated in almost everything that we can possibly think of. So what we're seeing in the news, even the shows that are being published, even certain movies, the gazettes, newspapers, magazines, everything goes through kind of like a checking from, okay, this we can let go, this no, this disappears, this can go through, this does not. And when they do want to bring fear into people, you will see in every newspaper, boom, look at what this happened, and oh my god, the news will be full of it, drama everywhere.
Well, I mean, I do see this because some people, I can't remember if I had a session with you or Kim, but it was said that the scientists are, just fudging the global warming figures because they want people to think there's global warming. Of course, there is a man-made component, but it's really not a serious problem because they want to make money off the green economy, and also the professors in these universities are dumbing down our kids, making them want socialism like Venezuela. I mean, and making them intolerant like Berkeley. That was the birthplace of freedom of speech, and yet they are stopping people that don't have their same opinions from speaking, and they're rioting. It's just so they're just
Well,
turning
and they
kids.
might.
They're turning kids into snowflakes, and the media too. They they were so pro Hillary, and I didn't like either of them. Okay, so don't hate me.
Yeah,
But
I don't.
they obviously just like for example, uh, Hillary is so upset that that Trump called Kim Jong Un a rocket man, and she thought it was a very inflammatory speech and it's dangerous. Yet there's a clip of Bill Clinton saying exactly the same thing, but that gets no media attention. So the media is just controlling our minds, and it's really
Right.
bad. All
Well,
right.
and just a little bit over a month ago, he's talking about a professor who was scheduled to come out and publicly announce he found the cure for cancer. And he mysteriously got a heart attack like 2 days before it was supposed to come
Mhm.
out. So, those things are happening all the time, all over the world. So, unfortunately, yeah, they do show us what they want us to see. And he's he's just laughing with Trump and Hillary, because I was because he knows I feel worried about that. I don't want people to think that I'm pulling party for one of them. I really didn't care about the election, not at all, because I know that whoever's going to become in power will be there for a reason. So that's my
Yeah.
perspective on everything. Whoever, whether I like you or not, because I actually thought Hillary was maybe okay, but I don't really know her very much. So I was like, I don't care as long as
Yeah.
whoever's in place will do the job that he's supposed to be doing at that moment. I really believe that everything has a reason, whether we like them or not.
Both of them were very flawed candidates.
So
Like
yeah,
Trump talks like a
yeah.
third
So
grader sometimes. It's terrible. But he says he wants to drain the swamp. Is part of that draining the swamp getting rid of the global elite and the corruption in the military industrial complex, getting rid of the New World Order? Is that part of it? Or if not him, will somebody do
with
that? Because it
Trump,
seems like
you
it's
mean
gonna.
with Trump?
Huh? Yeah,
With Trump,
yeah. I know Hillary wouldn't because she's part of the problem, but maybe he is too. I don't know.
he's saying, well, what he wants to do is he really wants to go back to the old ways where everybody's on his own. No cooperation, no sharing information. Everybody's on his own because he really wants to rebuild America and becoming that superpower. But he feels that because we now have to share all this information and we have to work together with the UN, and he's not a big fan of that, that, that hurts you guys more than ever. He's off on that. He's not correct on that. However, what he's doing is he's shaking things up.
Okay.
He's waking people up and say, okay, well, this person didn't do well and that person's not doing well, and so he's basically shaking the grounds of even these higher hierarchies, these top of the pyramid people. He's even shaking they don't like
No,
they
not many people do, unfortunately. But the UN, I mean, we are paying for a more than our fair share for the UN, and they're not doing anything to address human rights, and they're violators of human rights on the main council. So, I agree with him on that. But
well,
so he's not going to really,
believe it or not,
he's
it
not
is
going to deconstruct the global elite and the military industrial complex then.
right.
Uh,
But no, but he's gonna make he's gonna basically remove the rubble to start over.
okay, well, that's good.
He's tearing the building now so we can rebuild later.
Knocking up,
That's
kicking down the
doing.
table. All right, so when will we see the deconstruction of these global elite military industrial complex type things?
He says, well, it's really up to us. It's really about us all working together, coming together, and basically resisting this by not by fighting, but by thinking in the way that they don't want you to think. That's the whole ironic part about it. People think that we need to fight them. People think that we need to attack them. We need to, in some way or form, eliminate them. But no, what we need to do is exactly what they don't want us to do, is to think for ourselves, to
Okay.
spread that word,
Okay.
to stop going into their little games that they're playing with us. Stop watching the news, stop watching the media. Yeah, you might have some people losing their jobs because less and less people buying newspapers and so on, but that'll be, there's always a recuperation. People will do
Yeah.
other things
I've
then.
stopped watching the
Also,
news. I can't
yeah,
now. It's
I don't watch the
trauma,
news.
life in the ER, and I'm sitting there at the TV screen. Are you kidding me? You got to put a chest tube in the guy. Are you kidding? So I always tell the doctors what to do. But okay, so
I,
obviously,
I have to say something. I like watching those shows too, not because they're like, I like the emergency rooms because when you really look at that, you can feel the love that they feel for that person who's in need, who is, unconscious or who is hurt. And you can look at that and you will see how loving and compassionate people really are.
except for
Um,
the one where the guy steals his mom's car, wrecks it, and his passenger brother died instantly. And the mom comes into the ER bay, and he's severely hurt, and says, "The wrong kid died. You should have died." It's awful. All right, well,
oh, I've
enough of
not
that.
seen
But
that. I've
obviously,
only seen good ones.
so obviously, the lesson, it seems to me you're saying, is for us to think for ourselves and become enlightened and get to that fourth dimension, and that will solve the problem.
Yeah, stop feeding that negative outcome that
Okay.
people are so afraid of, and basically do exactly what they don't want you to do, is
Okay.
think for yourself, love yourself, and start creating your own universe.
Okay. Now, off the topic, but somebody said that aliens are stopping some of these nukes, and they're afraid of how violent we can be. Is that true?
That is true. There are alien races out there who are really terrified of us, and who
And
will
they should
defend
be.
themselves.
Okay.
And another issue is that the government is thinking of um, creating or imitating an alien attack, so they would be able to attack them and get their resources and all of that. So that's another thing, and some of them are really helping us as well. Some of them don't want these nukes to happen because it will not only affect us, but it'll affect the rest of the universe as well. And it'll affect them in a very negative way as well. So some of them really they don't control us, but they try to control the situation so we don't destroy ourselves and we don't
Okay.
destroy the planet. But then there's also other entities who are afraid of our nuclear use, who see,
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at our history, we don't have a real pleasant history. We're always attacking each other. We're always
No.
hurting each other. We're killing each other. We're killing babies. I mean, it just doesn't give a good resume to other
Mm-mm.
species. It doesn't give a good impression. So
No.
there are species out there who are aware of this and who are kind of in defense mode, who are just observing. But if it does come to a certain point, they will defend themselves. And then there are others who really try. They know that we have good in our hearts and that really want to try and help us overcome these struggles.
I hope so. We need all the help. We got a long way to go. All right, the last subject I want to talk about, just really briefly, are the career politicians. I mean, we talked a little bit about Hillary and Trump, but there's so many people that are career politicians on both sides that are so corrupt and do not pass bills according to what they think is best for us. I think they pass bills or obstruct bills based on what will keep them in power. And like I say, on both sides. What do you have to say about that?
Some of the politicians are in assignment of these higher groups. They really
Oh,
get
oh,
in that position for a reason,
yeah.
to stop things from happening. And then there's other politicians who really go into that job because they think they can make a difference for the good. So they're not all bad.
No, of course not.
Some are just infiltrated spies to stop certain things from happening, to manipulate it to go into a certain direction.
Okay, well, we talked about the uh, liberal Democrats is supposed to be the party of tolerance, yet the Berkeley riots and stuff. But yet on the Republican side, you've got the religious right that is very intolerant, bigoted, etc. Are they part of this problem too? They are a problem, but it ain't good.
Let's just say that when it comes to politics, there's so much diversion now. It's like everybody's on a different, there's no more unity. There's no,
Both sides show
no,
intolerance and lack of love.
yeah. And it's just because they've gotten bitter over the years and years and years. A lot of people have gotten bitter. A lot of people stay into the position because it's a well-paying job, but they've become hard. They know the world. They've given up on the world a little bit.
Well, look at the Republicans. They can't pass anything. And I think that there are several in the House and Senate that are just trying to take down Trump. They don't want him to be successful at all, even if at least parts of his agenda will help the country. Is that true? There are people who are actively refusing to allow Trump to be successful in creating at least some of the positive policies.
Yes, there's definitely people who are stopping him into what he really wants to do, and media is changing a lot of stuff into almost like a ridiculous mind game. So, he talks about fake news, but in a lot of ways, he's right on that. It is fake news. They just show you what you want to see. So he has been trying to.
Or what they want you to see. What they want you to see, right?
He is being stopped in every way and form that he tries to move forward. So.
Ugh, I feel sorry. I would not want to be in his position. Okay, so
become a politician.
I just get it. What was I going to ask? Okay, so can you name some of them, like Mitch McConnell, Paul Ryan, John McCain? They seem like they're a corrupt elite, but I don't know.
McCain, he's going thumbs up. That's
he's corrupt.
Yeah.
He's part of the global elite. Okay.
First one as well, he said.
Mitch McConnell.
Mm-hmm.
Chuck Schumer on the Democrat side.
He said no.
Nancy Pelosi.
She's one tough bitch.
I know. I think she's part of the New World Order. I just feel it in my bones, but I'm probably wrong. Is she?
No. He's saying no. However, she does have very strong belief system of her own. That is not always according to a more enlightened state of mind.
Okay. Who on the Democrat side are corrupt? Just like McCain, Mitch McConnell. Well, I haven't asked about Paul Ryan. Is he corrupt? Is he part of the global elite?
We're saying no. Let's just say he's not a great person.
I used to like him, but I don't know. What about on the Democrat side? Who is part of the corrupt elite?
Well, it's really hard to say, but they are puppets. They are not part of the elite. They are puppets. They're being paid, or they're, everything goes through another person and another person and another person. So when it comes to government, they're not really part of the elite. They are just kind of soldiers, foot soldiers, basically, for what the elite really wants.
So are we talking about lobbyists lining their pockets and telling them what to vote for and what not to vote for?
No, it's about they're getting paid, or they're being they get things promised, positions promised, things like that.
Yeah,
so it's always with financial means that they get, or they promise them presidenthood. Hey, if you do this, we're going to get you president. And, it's always about being in control. It's always they'll seduce them with, hey, you'll get this big company, you can own it, it's yours, you can have it. It's always about giving people power, giving people money, giving people control over certain things. If you do this for us, if you do that for us, and it usually takes a few inner people to get to there. Because the group that we're talking about, the kind of high society, kind of top of the pyramid group, they don't like to be known. So everything is
Yeah.
very hush hush, and there's a lot. It's kind of like drug cartel. There's a lot of intermediate people
Yeah.
before it gets to the product that actually does it. Um, so it's really hard to trace them down.
Okay, I have two more quick questions. First, a lot of people talk about a shadow government. Is this kind of what we've been talking about, or is there like this shadow government?
Yeah, it's just that elite that they're talking about,
Okay,
control government.
what about the deep state that the news talks about? That's so anti-Trump. You know, they say they wiretapped him, and which now turns out to be true, and trying to really destroy his presidency. And probably they've tried to destroy other presidencies in the past too. Is there a deep state in the government?
Yes, there are groups. Um, he's talking about, but this is separate from that elite.
Oh, okay.
It's a separate group who wants to gain control over government.
Okay.
It's a smaller group, and they are also not as powerful. Who they like to stir things up.
Okay.
But
Well,
they
they
don't.
probably see Trump as a president who's going rogue, and they want to probably rein him in. And in some cases, he needs to be. In some ways. So, guys, you know that I'm not Democrat or Republican. I just want what's
We're
best for the
not.
country. I just want to let you guys know I was not a fan of Hillary because I know that she has this history of corruption. Trump has some bad stuff going on too, and he talks like a third grader. I don't know what to. I just want to pray for my country. But last thing, what is the solution to all this? The corrupt, corrupt career politicians. I think term limits ought to happen, and they're not going to vote it in for themselves, so it's going to have to be grandfathered. Like any new politicians, they only get two terms or something like that. But I don't think people should be in, a representative or senators for 30, 40 years. I just, no, they just collect dust and become corrupt. What is the solution? Would that be
And
one of them?
no, he's saying it doesn't matter in what shape or form you want to put people in power, it's still going to be a power struggle. The solution is us. We need to teach our children the right way about the world, about equality, about taking care of each other. And you can already tell that these new generations that are coming in are a lot more enlightened and a lot more open to the idea of this. But we need to make sure we need to protect them, and we need to protect that idea in them. We need to stimulate it instead of taking it away. We shouldn't induce it with, oh, you need to obey what the government says, and you need
No.
to have a job, and you need to work like a robot in order to fit into society. No, we need to stimulate our children to say, hey, be free thinking. What do you feel you need to do? We need to stimulate that enlightened way of life into them, and their generation will create a government that will be based on all those ideals that we had given to them, equality, and really get rid of all these power struggles that are going on all over the world.
Well,
So
how could that happen when these university professors are telling our children how to think, good or bad? They are feeding them
because
so much propaganda.
when we as a people we're outnumbering this group more, like 1,000,000 to 1. We're
Yeah.
outnumbering them like there's no tomorrow.
Mm.
So if we can all give our children the same enlightened state of mind, then we're actually going to suppress them very easily and basically knock them off, because they can't control 9 billion people. It's just not going to happen.
I
you
know
know
the
we
professors,
are
the media, big
this
pharma, corporations, Facebook.
control
Wait. I'm
this
sorry. Go ahead.
control
Wait, what?
this control that they have has been built up slowly for
Yeah.
centuries. Okay, it started with the Catholic Church, and it's been building up and building up and building up,
Oh, yeah.
up, expanding. That's what it's been doing. So in order for us to tear it down, it's also going to be a slower process. We're not going to tear them down in one day. It's just not going to happen. What we need to do is we need to teach our children to become enlightened beings, to become mindfulness, to become compassionate, and really, that needs to be integrated in their way of thinking, so
And
they don't.
question authority. Question
Yes,
authority.
well,
Don't
they
believe
don't.
don't believe everything your teachers and professors tell you. Don't believe everything the media feeds you. Don't believe everything the politicians feed you on both sides of the aisle. Don't believe what your president says all the time. Don't agree all the time. Yeah, I'm for
So
you.
they don't
I'm a
resonate with that
maverick.
frequency.
Sorry.
So
Yeah,
they don't
right.
resonate with that frequency. So when somebody does come up to them and they'll be like, I'm stepping away from you because I don't go with that frequency. That doesn't feel good. And so when they have no more followers, when they have nobody to intimidate anymore, because they won't be afraid, you will teach them to be independent. You will teach them to be enlightened within themselves. They won't be afraid of them. And then you're losing all your power. If you take away the fear of people, all power is lost.
So I think
So
they
take
need to
away
learn
the fear.
how to trust what their heart tells them.
Yeah,
People.
and take away the fear. No more fear.
I still
Because
think
it's fear that is we're being controlled by fear
we
is
are.
the number one control issue is fear.
Yep. And the media, the politicians, the New World Order, the global elite, the military industrial complex, the universities are all taking advantage of that. Now, I still think personally that term limits would be good because then it seems like the politicians will not just uh, pass legislation or do things that will get them into the next term, that will keep them in power, because they won't be able to do that because they are limited. So maybe at least in their last term, if they have to, they'll just do things that they think are right for our country and not for what's going to give them money and more power.
Well, what's going to happen in the future is, but we're still talking from way, 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 way far from where you are now, Mom.
Mm-hmm.
Is we will have kind of like a government for the human race, no longer for different countries,
Mm-hmm.
but the world will be unified, and this government will exist from all these different areas all over the world, and they will make decisions in order for everyone equal, everything the same. So whatever they will decide will affect everyone on this planet. So that's where we're headed, and it'll be like kind of like a galactic confederation of the human race. That's kind of where we're going to, but this is still light years away from where we are now. So
Well,
um,
I think it's going to take disclosing some of the technology that's being hidden from us. The free energy and the cure for all diseases, the cure for starvation, poverty, and all that. It's going to take that. Otherwise, it's just going to be too difficult. Things will be just too divided. So, how do we get these technologies released to us?
Well, like I said, it starts with our children. When they eventually take over, they will knock these people off their power because they won't have any more power. If your people is no longer afraid of anything, if they are so good within themselves, you take away the power. It's like a bully. They're a bully. They're bullying us. We just talked about bullying. That's what they're doing. They're using our weaknesses against us.
Well, it seems like there should be a leader who releases all this technology for us, whether it's Trump or somebody in the future that says, dudes, I got free energy for you now, okay?
Yeah.
Or something
They
like that.
will. The whole thing, when our children finally get to that point and they
Okay.
do take over, they will reveal all this
Okay.
information.
Mm.
Yeah.
How long is that going to take? A
Well,
century, two
again,
centuries?
that's up to you. That's the whole thing when it comes to future predictions. It all depends on how the energy is flowing. That's what it is. It all depends
Okay.
on the energy.
Wow,
So, uh,
this has been so fascinating. I feel like there's hope. First, it was kind of like,
there
oh,
is, there
damn, we're
is,
just
and I want
screwed. But
people to know that. He says,
yeah,
I want people to understand this is not a doom scenario. There is always hope, and it always starts with love, and it always starts with compassion, but it also starts with you. We have to work together, and we need to stop being afraid. The only reason they can control us is because we are fearful of everything. We are fearful of being alone. We are fearful of not being loved. We're fearful of not being popular. We're fearful of not having enough money. We're fearful of, not society not accepting us. We're fearful of being an outsider. There's so much fear
I know. But
in
look, what
the
is the
world.
worst that can happen to us, people? We are eternal beings. Big freaking
Exactly.
deal. All right.
The
On
worst
that
thing you
note,
can do is you can go home and start, and try again. There's nothing to be fearful about. Live your life every day as if it's your last. Enjoy it. Have fun. Do what you love, people. Stop going into, oh, what is safe, or what is government telling you what is safe. If you want to be an artist, be an artist. Anything you do with passion
but remember that it is not your
will
last
lead to
life.
financial stability. It will lead to financial stability if you do it with your whole heart. If you believe in yourself, it will always lead to you feeling abundant in life, because you will already have that energy. You will already be in that frequency because you're doing what you love.
Awesome.
So that's where it starts with.
Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Eric and Emma. I love you both. Emma, you can contact her at www.emmanuelmcintosh.com. Check her out and learn it live. Just type in her name, right? Because
LearnItLive.com.
she's got
Yep.
some great classes. Some are how to develop your mediumship skills, right?
Yep,
And
how to develop your mediumship skills and how to meditate, and there's also one about autism, and there's going to be some new ones following. So you can either attend them live, or if they've already passed, then you can watch the recording as many times as you want.
now, do you have one, or will you have one on how to communicate with your deceased loved ones?
Well, we're still working on the mediumship
Oh,
class,
okay.
so
Oh, well, that's kind of the same. Yeah. Yeah.
the
All right.
same thing. It's a great class because it's not only just for people who want to be a medium, but it's really about how you can connect. And the first class, the beginner's class, is really about getting a good foundation in life. Because in order to connect, you really have to find peace and harmony within yourself. So the first class is really good for everybody who's struggling, who's depressed, who is on the look for why am I here. So I definitely recommend it to anybody. And then I think about next month, I'll probably do the medium class, the second one, where we go more into detail about the different ways to connect and things like that. So yeah.
Sounds awesome. And you guys check out Eric's book, My Life After Death. It's $8.64 or something like that on Amazon. So worth it. So life-changing. Such a page turner. You will laugh. You will cry. Your jaw will drop. So please, read some of the comments on Amazon, because a lot of people say it's the best book they have ever read. Not only just among spirituality books, but period. So check it out. Also, my book, My Son in the Afterlife, Conversations with the Other Side. So you learn about my journey from skepticism to belief, but it's not all about me. So you also learn about what death is like, what the afterlife is like, what the life of a spirit is like, and it's awesome. So check it out, and love you guys.
Love you. Eric's going to love you all. Mwah, mwah,
Oh, yeah.
mwah.
Oh, and there's a whole bunch of stuff on the blog that is not a YouTube video. So go to the archives of channelingeric.com, and Eric is spelled with A-K. Bye. I love you, Eric.
Bye. I love you too, Mom.
Bye.
Bye.